The phone's glow sliced through the darkness, a cold blade of light that carved my sleep in two. It was 2:03 a.m., and the notification pulsed like a heartbeat. Busy now, I'll call later. From Claire. My wife. My chest tightened, not from the words themselves but from the hour, the stark brevity, the way they sat wrong, like a key that wouldn't turn in a familiar lock. I lay there staring at the ceiling, the shadows of the fan blades spinning like vultures over my thoughts. Where was she? Why was she texting at this hour? The bed felt too large, the sheets too cold, and the silence of our apartment screamed louder than any answer I could imagine. I typed back, my fingers trembling. Where are you? Sent at 2:05. No reply. The blue ticks mocked me, confirming she'd seen it. I waited, the seconds stretching into knives, each one cutting deeper into the fragile trust we'd built over 8 years. Claire was at a work event, she'd said. A late-night gallery opening, networking with artists and clients. She was an art curator, her world a maze of late hours and cryptic smiles, but this felt different. The air in the room grew thick, heavy with the weight of questions I didn't want to ask. By 2:10 the front door rattled. I froze, my pulse hammering in my throat. The sound of her keys jangled, clumsy as if her hands were unsteady. I sat up, the mattress creaking beneath me, and watched her silhouette slip into the apartment. Claire moved like a ghost, her coat still on, her auburn hair catching the faint streetlight filtering through the blinds. She didn't call out for me. She didn't turn on the light. Instead, she stood in the living room, staring at her phone, her face pale, her breath uneven. When she finally looked up and saw me in the doorway, her eyes widened, and her phone slipped from her hand, clattering onto the hardwood. Mark, she whispered, her voice fraying at the edges. You're awake. Where were you? My words came out sharper than I meant, each syllable a shard of glass. I wanted to sound calm, to give her the benefit of the doubt, but my heart was a clenched fist and every beat hurt. She hesitated, her lips parting as if to speak, then closing again. The gallery, she said finally, her voice too careful, like she was stepping around broken glass. It ran late. I told you. At 2 in the morning? I stepped closer, the floor cold against my bare feet. The apartment smelled faintly of her perfume, jasmine, sharp and clinging. But there was something else, something unfamiliar. Cigarette smoke? No, stronger, like bourbon or cologne. My stomach twisted. You texted me. Busy now. What were you busy doing, Claire? Her eyes darted to the side, a flicker of guilt so quick I almost missed it. It was chaotic, she said, shrugging off her coat and tossing it over the couch. Clients, artists, everyone talking at once. I didn't mean to worry you. She forced a smile, but it cracked, her lips trembling. She was shaking, I realized, her hands fidgeting at her sides. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. Claire was my anchor, the woman who'd laughed with me over burnt dinners, who'd held my hand through my father's funeral, who'd promised forever under a starlit sky in Tuscany. But the pieces weren't fitting. The late nights had grown more frequent. Gallery openings, client dinners, quick drinks that stretched past midnight. She'd always had an explanation, and I'd always swallowed them, because doubting her felt like doubting myself. But now, standing in the dim glow of our living room, I saw the cracks in her story, and they mirrored the ones in my heart. Why didn't you answer my text? I asked, my voice low, steady, though inside I was unraveling. I asked where you were. You saw it. Her face flushed and she turned away, busying herself with her purse, pulling out her keys, her wallet, anything to avoid my gaze. I was driving, she said. I didn't want to text and drive. You were driving? I repeated, the words tasting bitter. You texted me at 2:03. You were home by 2:10. That's 7 minutes, Claire. The gallery's 20 minutes away. Her hands froze, her purse slipping to the floor with a soft thud. The silence that followed was deafening, a void filled with every fear I'd buried for months. She turned to me, her eyes glistening, and for a moment I thought she'd confess. I braced myself for the truth, for the name of someone else, for the shattering of everything I knew. Instead, she stepped closer, her voice soft but desperate. Mark, please. You're overthinking this. I was at the gallery. I got caught up, I drove home, I'm here now. Can we just go to bed? Her words were a plea, but they felt like a dodge. I wanted to grab her, to shake the truth out of her, but I couldn't move. My mind raced, replaying every late night, every vague excuse, every time her phone had buzzed and she'd angled it away from me. I thought of the colleague she mentioned too often, Evan, the charming artist with the easy smile. I'd met him once at a gallery event, his hand lingering too long on her arm. I'd laughed it off then, but now it burned in my memory. Claire, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. If you're lying to me, just tell me. Please. Her breath hitched, and for a fleeting second, I saw something raw in her eyes. Guilt, fear, maybe love. I'm not lying, she said, but her voice cracked and she looked away, her fingers twisting the hem of her sweater. I'm just tired, Mark. Can we talk in the morning? I nodded, though every instinct screamed to push harder, to demand answers. But I was afraid. Afraid of what she'd say, afraid of what it would mean. We went to bed, her body curled away from me, the space between us a chasm. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, the fan blades still spinning, each rotation a reminder of the questions circling my mind. The next morning she was gone before I woke. A note on the counter read, "Early meeting back tonight." I stared at it, the words blurring as my chest ached. I didn't go to work. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table, her phone's passcode. A date from our first trip together, burning in my mind. I'd never snooped before, never wanted to be that person. But the doubt was a poison, spreading with every heartbeat. I unlocked her phone. The messages were there, buried under a thread labeled work. Evan's name over and over, text from last night. Meet me out back 1:30. Her reply, on my way. My hands shook as I scrolled, each message a dagger. You're making this hard, he'd written. I know, she'd replied. But I can't stop. The phone slipped from my hands, hitting the table with a dull thud. My world tilted, the walls of our apartment closing in. I wanted to scream, to cry, to confront her. But all I could do was sit there, drowning in the truth. She'd been home by 2:10, shaking, not from the cold, but from my text. Because she knew I was close to unraveling her secret. When she came home that night, I was waiting, the phone on the table between us. Her eyes widened and she froze, just like she had at 2:10 a.m. Mark, she started, but I held up a hand. I know, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. I know about Evan. Her face crumpled, tears spilling down her cheeks, but she didn't deny it. Instead, she sank to the floor, sobbing, her apologies a broken record. She loved me, she said. She didn't know why she'd done it. She begged for forgiveness, but her words felt hollow, like echoes in a house already abandoned. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked at her, the woman I'd loved for 8 years, and saw a stranger. The betrayal wasn't just Evan. It was every moment she'd chosen to lie, every smile she'd faked, every promise she'd broken. I stood, walked to the door, and left her there, her sobs fading behind me. Outside, the city buzzed, indifferent to my shattered world. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay. Not with her. Not with the ghost of who we used to be.